kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben Eller here with Premier Guitar as part of their Hooked series, in which us guitar nerds talk about the legendary riffs and licks that got us addicted to this thing in the first place. Whenever they asked me to be a part of this series, I figured it would be a great time to finally come clean and share my secret shame with the world that it actually wasn't a guitar riff at all that got me inspired to play music. It was a bass hook by Mike Dirnt in the Green Day classic, Longview. And that is the actual dirty truth of the matter. I did not want to play guitar. I wanted to play the big guitar first, but my family didn't have any big guitars. We only had 6 strings around. So let me give you guys a little bit of background, and that might inform you as to why I was kind of aiming in that direction before I started playing guitar and making that my entire life's pursuit. Okay, so growing up, my older brother Noah and I were quite different. He was always really active and athletic and got into music and stuff. I was always a lot more like quiet and reserved. I loved art, I loved comic books, I loved video games, just classic, 80s kid nerdy stuff. And we were homeschooled, which meant that we had an abundance of free time. Basically, I could wake up in the morning, smash all my schoolwork out, and then I would just have hours and hours waiting for my friends that lived on my block to get home. That way we could hang out and play video games or whatever. So my brother started playing guitar, I want to say like 2 or 3 years before I did. And he had a couple of decent guitars laying around the house, and he had a really cool teacher named Benjamin Franklin, coolest name ever. And honestly, my boredom kind of led me to want to play music. I was just like, I've got all this time, there's only so many video games I can play, there's only so many times I can beat Ninja Gaiden 2 in a day. I might as well try this out just completely out of boredom. But I never had any aspiration to play guitar. I heard the guitar players my brother was listening to, like Joe Satriani and Eric Clapton and all these other guys, and I was just like, I could never do that. There's no way that'll ever be me playing the solos or whatever. I looked at the bass and I was like, there's less strings on it, you're never playing chords, it's got to be easier. So maybe there's hope one day of me getting onto this thing and making some noise. Like I said earlier, we didn't have a bass guitar at home, we only had guitars. So I started taking my brother's guitars to guitar lessons with his teacher and learning there, hoping that if I got halfway decent at that, maybe one day I could beg my parents to buy me a bass. That way I could become Mike Dirnt of Green Day. And honestly, I can't overstate the importance of the Green Day thing and the impact on how those early records like Dookie and Nimrod and Insomniac made on my life, because I wouldn't be playing music, period, if not for those records, plus like the Blue Album by Weezer and some of the early stuff from my childhood like Van Halen 1 and ZZ Top Eliminator. But the Green Day stuff was really, really important and like formative for me in a lot of ways, because it was music my parents didn't introduce me to. And this is something that, I'm completely dating myself in the age of YouTube and Spotify and every other streaming service, where if you want to hear a band, you just type it in and you're listening to that band. That was not the case in the 90s where I'm from. If you wanted to hear a band, you had to go buy the CD, So growing up the way that we did, which is to say somewhat conservatively, Green Day records were not allowed inside the house whatsoever. They had way too many inappropriate slang words on them to be brought into the house and corrupt our little minds. But after my brother turned, 16 and he got his own car, that's when we got a little taste of freedom and could get inside of his Dodge Duster and hit the road and go and, prowl through the CD bins at pawn shops and used record stores and start finding music that our parents didn't listen to, Our parents raised us on everything from classical music to the Beatles to Led Zeppelin. We had a huge variety of stuff growing up. But whenever you find those bands that your parents don't already listen to, and you're a teenager and you claim that as like, this is my music, I found this, I think that's like profoundly important and makes a huge impact on you. So that's what happened. My brother got those early Green Day records, and we would just drive around and listen to them because we couldn't play that stuff in the house. And I just remember loving that music. You know, it's that early kind of pop punk sort of thing. And I remember listening to Mike's bass lines and just thinking they sounded so cool. I thought maybe I have a hope of doing that one day. I'm never going to be Mr. Guitar Solo guy, but maybe I can hold it down on the bass. Little did I know that Mike's bass parts are like 1,000,000 times harder than Billy Joe's guitar parts, and like 99.9% of like all the Green Day material. So I was actually choosing the way harder path. But that was my goal overall, as far as like why I even started playing the guitar and taking lessons. I just hoped to get good enough to play bass. So even though it wasn't the instrument that I really wanted to play, I started taking lessons on guitar and just got super obsessed with it. And again, I was pursuing the Green Day thing because at that time, this is before the internet was widely available. I couldn't go and find tabs for all the Green Day songs that I wanted to learn how to play. So if I wanted to learn how to play them, I had to figure them out myself. My guitar teacher didn't know any of those songs, so if I wanted to learn them, I had to figure it out. And it's kind of interesting because that gave me a huge jolt of confidence with my guitar playing, because I figured out that, at least on the really early Green Day records, they were basically just all power chords. Like all of my favorite songs, you know, were... They were just that one power chord shape moving all around the neck. And as soon as I figured that out, I could start just humming the bass line of whatever song it was I was trying to learn, finding that note, turning it into a power chord, and then suddenly I was playing, you know... I think the big breakthrough one for me with like my ear training and figuring out that like this was something I could actually do was whenever I figured out the first riff in All the Time, which is a track off of the Nimrod record. It's just a 3-chord riff. It sounds like this. Learning those simple riffs that were just humming a note, da 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 da, and attaching a power chord shape to it really helped me learn to trust my ear and that I could actually figure songs out. I didn't have to find the tab book or ask my teacher or whatever. I could just do this on my own. And I think that really did supercharge my confidence in myself as a guitar player, that this actually was something that I could do and stick with and get better at. If I could turn back time, share style, and go back to my little bowl-cutted self back then and explain that one day I'd be able to like play the guitar or the bass, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd be able to play those Green Day songs. I wouldn't have believed you. That I would be doing a video for Premier Guitar. There's no way I would have believed any of that. But the confidence that learning those Green Day tunes gave me back then really set me on the right track to doing things that I never would have believed I'd be able to do. I recommend everybody go out there and find some music that your parents don't listen to, call it your own, get obsessed with it, learn it, and see what it does for you. I also recommend getting away from the computer now and going to play some guitar or bass. Less clicking, more picking.